about $156,000 in present value terms. That means swap rates should be lower. Let's do 5, 4. Well, 4 is too little because at 4, even though it's not always the case, net net, the fixed payer is happier, okay? Because they're paying on present value terms negative 70,000. Alternatively speaking, they're getting net 70,000 plus. You probably guessed it. I'm gonna make that red. It's yellow. You probably guessed it. The proper swap rate is the rate that makes swap PV 0. Data, what if analysis, goal seek 0 by changing the only thing we don't know, the swap rate. So it turns out a 2-year, 3-month LIBOR swap should be 437.10. Okay. Which is much lower than the current 3-month LIBOR. That kind of makes sense, you know. If I'm a floating rate payer and I want to hedge my risk, and yield curve is downward sloping, that means market is expecting short-term interest rates to be lower in the future. Well, given that, I need a compensation because I'm willing to pay fixed right now instead of paying floating, but I almost know my payments are going to be lower. That's pretty much the idea. If you have a 30-year swap, you're going to do the same thing with a forward curve for 30 years. When you're using the 3-month LIBOR or euro dollar futures, look at the volume. After about 2 years, there's not much volume left, okay? We can also look at the open interest. And after about 2.5 years or 3 years, total open interest is below 100,000 contracts. Each contract's notional amount is $1 million. So 100,000 contracts is just $100 billion. Not too much, given the depth of this kind of market. Volume is even less. So you shouldn't use the euro dollar forward curve obtained from euro dollar contracts for anything above 2 years. How you can calculate a forward curve more than that, for longer than that, it's kind of a graduate level stuff. But the underlying idea doesn't change. It's like the mathematics. I know how to calculate a swap rate if I have access to forward curve. If someone gives you the forward curve, you have a nice little calculator here, okay? Suppose this went down to 4.25 for some reason. All I have to do is do my goal seek again. $4.28, right? Oh, by the way, let's see what happened to Fed. That's, yeah. Isn't that what we kind of said? Let's see what the market thinks for longer term. Let's see. Or let's look at the December meeting. 12, 13. I don't think there is a meeting in. Yeah, typically there is no meeting that ends on January. So if you look at the January 24 contract, 95,635. That's 436 minus 0.08. Yeah, about 425. In fact, whatever little volume you have on that contract says there's going to be a rate drops sometime before the end of the year. But don't put too much stress into those. Remember, our analysis said one rate hike now, which has just happened. One rate hike in maybe one rate hike in May. Let's look at June, 95.08. That's June 14th. By the way, you should definitely use this stuff, at least as a parlor trick. Let's assume there's going to be one hike between now and May. And June contract says 95.08. It says the chances of another move after today by June contract is 67.5. We could do same thing for a July meeting. At least that's what market's attaching. 26th and 95,125. Where are you? So market thinks that there's going to be at least another 25, but it could be 50. By what probability? Only 11%. So next three meetings, May, June, and July, market is betting that in one of them there's going to be a 25 basis points move. The chances of another 25 is only 11%. Exactly what Jerome Powell is saying. Of course, had I done this with pricing data before 2 o'clock, that number would have been a little bit different, but I don't think it would have been that different. As a general rule, unless they have seen data that's really convincing, Fed does not like surprising the markets, the Fed funds futures markets, for two reasons. One, that would overall increase risk premium, so it will have a cost to the economy if the Fed becomes unpredictable. And two, Fed funds rate futures is an important risk management tool. If you can't rely on that, I mean, if overall people's idea says should be 25, Fed decides that it's going to be 75, for whatever reasons, it could even be economically justified, then people are not going to rely on those tools for longer term risk management purposes. So there is kind of, in a sense, side benefits of Fed being somewhat predictable. If they're surprising the market, there is really a very good reason for it. They almost have to do it. I mean, Alan Greenspan did like surprising the markets way back when, but after Greenspan, Fed pretty much said, okay, yes, we're going to increase the interest rate, but it's going to be on a steady pace, unless data that they see says, come on, man, that's not enough. And usually they telegraph that to market using speeches and stuff much earlier. So let's see how the market responded to that. Let's see. Monday. Come on. Yeah, market viewed it as positively. Not too much. Less than 100 points on Dow. The initial was a little bit higher than that, but that's good. A lot of times, people with leverage long positions tend to close their positions right before a Fed decision to minimize the downside risk. Similarly, shorts do it as well. So if market didn't react too much, that's always a good thing. Market is not seeing that one more rate hike this year, that's it. So right now it's 475 to 5. Probably in June they're gonna do it. That's my guess. In June, Fed funds rate is gonna be 5%. About 3 months ago, the higher end of the estimates was 575. So the collapse of SVB and Signature Banks actually created a cash flow for people like me. I'm going to pay about 75 basis points less on a loan of $100,000. You know, that's $750. No, $750 less a year. Divided by 12, that's about 60 bucks. Okay, I can get a Macallan 12 years old with that every month. I manage these cash surprises. I count these cash surprises in number of single malt whiskeys. Typically, when I get a money I didn't think I had, I tend to spend it on luxury stuff. But that's me. Let's stop here. If you guys have any advising related issues, we can talk about it. On Monday, we're going to actually talk about some simple ways of getting your own forward curve using the regular yield curve, at least to get an idea about what it should look like, so that we can do longer term swaps.